Image description. Alt tag. A deaf speaker who wears prescription glasses, black shirt, blue jeans, Nike black swoosh, white shoes on stage, here at the Edge, Federation Square, with the beautiful background of the Yarra River. Wow, I'm so excited and also a little bit inspired to be in front of you here today. It's great to be here, but also a little daunting. Firstly, I would like to say a huge thank you to Grant and the team at Design Outlook 2022 for inviting me to share my story about why design for everyone matters to me so much. I'm deaf, if you haven't already guessed, and I'm an experienced designer at ANZ. These are our Auslan interpreters today, Mark with a C and Mark with a K. I'll be using Auslan, Australian Sign Language, and Mark with a C will be interpreting into English for all of us, and vice versa. I believe it's long overdue that we talked about design and the impact it has on people in our communities that have a disability. Before I talk about why design for everyone, I want to share a personal story first. I come from a small town in Malaysia. This is a photograph of me with my red hat. I was actually born hearing. Unfortunately, my world was turned upside down. I was very sick and I lost my hearing at the age of 2. My parents and I moved to Melbourne, Australia in the late 1980s. And this is where I was introduced to the cochlear implant at the age of 3. One curious and amazing fact is that I was the 10th commercial paediatric recipient of the cochlear implant in the world. Yes, I have a small computer chip inside my head that allows me to hear your voice, music, and everyday life sounds, including the first laugh from my 3-year-old daughter. Now, I grew up as a deaf kid in the 80s and 90s. The television at that time wasn't subtitled. When our home phone rang, I couldn't speak or hear on the phone. I had to ask my parents to relay phone messages for me. Sitting at the train station, the airport or school, I would completely miss the messages on the public address system. The world could have come to an end, or it would have just passed me by. Being deaf can be confusing and frustrating at the best of times. The experience I had as a child, I still have today. We live in a world designed by people without disabilities. While we make great progress, there is still a long way to go. Hence the reason why I am here today. Everyone should benefit from design. How different the world could be if we took disabilities into consideration in our design practice. How much more inclusive would that be? As a designer, I've always been fascinated by watching people who have struggles in life experience design in a world around them. Not only for deaf people, but a wide range of people, depending on age, grades, backgrounds, abilities, education, financial status, and Indigenous communities. Foreigners whose second language is English struggling to read context or content. Blind people having trouble finding the correct path. Wheelchair users having to figure out how to access the next floor that doesn't have an elevator or a ramp. And the elderly, afraid to use credit cards on fraudulent websites. For the temporarily abled people, have you ever held a baby or a bag of groceries while trying to use your phone? Have you ever broken your arm? Have you forgotten your PIN code or your password after a night out or returning from a holiday? It's true, yeah? You've experienced that? And do you feel anxious when your Uber Eats hasn't arrived? Yeah, it looks like a yes from the audience. Great. This poor dog is like you guys, waiting. There are 1 billion people worldwide and 4 million people in Australia living with disabilities. That's a huge proportion of us. Yet we still are faced with limited access to digital experiences, employment, and social inclusion. People with a disability around the world regularly face discrimination, rejection, barriers, and isolation. And it's something we have the power to stop. 10 years ago, large organisations wouldn't talk about creating customer experiences that were more inclusive. They wouldn't even talk about an action to change the process of designing a digital product to be more accessible or to give people with a disability the opportunity to work with them, educate them, and help them understand how to improve their products and services. Today, many organisations are feeling guilty and even ashamed about this. We now see them opening up, listening, and understanding all people, and how they can improve customer experiences, making products and services more inclusive. I have a few examples of some of the best early and current accessibility innovations which have improved customer experiences for everyone. A small change can have a huge impact. The first example is the RACV text message, which was introduced in the early 2000s. That was before the iPhone and the 3G network. In those days, emergency telephone booths were not accessible, as you can see here. And the only other real option in an emergency was sending a text to your friends or your parents, which is usually a bad idea, especially very early in the morning. Anyway, one day in the early 2000s, a deaf customer found themselves broken down in the early morning and texted RACV roadside assist via their Nokia phone. A few hours later, a trained mechanic arrived and fixed the car. The customer was happy and has been a loyal customer ever since. And in case you haven't guessed already, that deaf person was me. Thank you so much, RACV team. Now, the second example, MasterCard, recently introduced accessible cards for blind and partially sighted people, called the Touch Card. It's a slightly different shape. There's this thin side of the card that allows the person to distinguish the difference between the cards, the credit card, the debit card, and the prepaid card. The Touch Card will provide a greater sense of security, inclusivity, and independence to the 2.2 billion people around the world with vision impairments. The third example, Microsoft, are deeply inclusive, empowering every person and every organisation on the planet to achieve more. On their Microsoft Store, the Chat Live feature has 3 different options: chat, call, or even sign language, as you can see here. The last example, in Southeast Asia, they have a delivery app. It's called Grab. Most customers have felt anxious, hungry, and complain when their food is being delayed. And that's usually because of heavy rain or super typhoon. Grab had the opportunity and power to let their customers know about their food. Their food was on the way, but was delayed due to heavy rain. This is a really good reminder for customers to be patient and to show empathy. It is easy to assume the worst, yet the majority are trying. We only need more patience and empathy as this goes a long way. The most important requirement for your product or project to design a product or solution for everyone, we need to understand and care about different needs. 3 important accessibility empathy principles in design include: our products are easy to access and use, which increase our audiences. The second one is minimum lovable products for everyone. And the third one is our products don't land us in lawsuits or discrimination. To truly design for everyone, we can focus on the usability of our products across 4 important broad guidelines. Visual, make it easy to see. Auditory, make it easy to hear. Motor, make it easy to interact with. And cognitive, make it easy to understand. I love adding this quote: always add accessibility as your line item to your budget. And this is from Keely Cat-Wells, the founder and CEO of C Talent. Design systems are important. In a world where we are designing for everyone, we can't forget anyone. There are needs to be covered, not audiences to reach. To meet this goal, we need to design and build an accessibility and usable service. That means that everything should be as complete, legible, and easy to read where practicable. This is very relevant to the design systems. The visual design direction, the UI elements of design systems to support our future growth as individuals and also the company's growth. You can build your skills and knowledge to become an accessible champion. Representation matters. If you're going to build a product or service with a team of UX designers, business analysts, content producers, product owners, visual designers, lawyers, and engineers, from the planning phase to the design, development, launch, and maintenance phases, make sure you include people with a disability and provide those accessibility checks along the way. The new process I would like to advocate is people first, which includes people with a disability, as well as people of diverse ages and backgrounds in the design process from the beginning to end. This might include internal staff, bringing people in from outside the organisation when required. Build a diverse team to create diverse design experiences. Develop your product and/or service. Launch it later. Enhance the products and/or service. This could also help avoid lawsuits, and therefore saving 30 times the cost, which could be utilised to make your product accessible. Always include people with a disability in your product. Trust your guts, not data. I encourage everyone to see something that can be improved. If you can see something that can be improved, trust your intuition. Please speak up and reach out to your team or external organisations and share it. All organisations need to provide a safe place for you to share your ideas and make changes to create a more accessible design and build. This also includes your leaders and stakeholders. Not only will this help your organisation, but it will also help the people using your products and or services. Thoughtful feed, grow, is a gift. It's like a seed planted in the ground, growing into a tree, with thousands of leaves, rather than becoming sparse, brown, and the leaves falling due to the lack of growth and nourishment. These leaves can represent more happy customers, helping us all help all of us. Be humble, be kind. Your design could help billions of people around the world, make everyone feel welcome, and makes a world of difference. Thank you.